Welcome to the Golf Biz. I'm Joe Dahlstrom with Mikey D, Drew, and the crew, where our one and only goal is to make you smile as we share our story of owning, operating golf courses all over America. Welcome, Drew.
What's going on, Joe? Guys, thanks for joining us today. I know it's a sunny afternoon here. I tell you what, it's a huge relief because about a week ago it was like 110 this time of day. Now it's like 80. So thank you for bringing this weather this week when you came out, man.
Yeah, so we're so excited to have you. You guys are from the Hero program and also have a lot of other great things happening. But Brian Blaylock and Jim Morrison, thank you for being here.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And right now is the best time to be in Phoenix, I think.
Absolutely. So we just kind of want to hear the story behind the Hero program and also a little bit about yourselves because Andrew and I and everybody at the Paradigm Golf Group and the Golf Biz, we admire what you guys do first and foremost and all the people that sacrifice their life and their time to go ahead and fight for our freedom. We could never give enough to say a thank you. So on that note, thank you for everything that you've done and that you continue to do. So
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah. The Hero program started quite a long time ago, actually, but it's been refined quite a bit over the last couple of years. And the main focus is to raise funds for our veterans and first responders for things like prosthetics, service dogs, PTSD counseling, among other things. Maybe some adaptive things for homes. Anything you name it that these folks need, we want to raise money and give it to them and make their life a little bit better. We started partnering with courses. We go in, we build relationships. We're not selling anything to anybody, so I think the initial conversations are always usually a little bit more chill because we're not selling anything. We just want to partner with the golf course. We have so many different contests, as you know. You kind of learned that yesterday that we do. My favorite program is always the long drive one, just because I love seeing guys hit the ball, so far. And so usually in a charity tournament, so give you kind of the ABCs, ABC charity, let's say your local Rotary Club wants to raise a bunch of money. They come to us. They want some contests done. So we do the par 3 contest, which is called our Hero Hole. And then we do the long drive, the Crank It Hole. Crank Golf, the World Long Drive Champions, 27 world records. As of today, I think it's the best golf driver head I've ever hit.
Really?
Ever.
Wow. I'd have to try one of those, Drew.
Ever. I'm blown away. It was the first time that I'd ever tried it on the golf course in with a real golf course swing without trying to just hit it 400 yards type of thing. So I get excited about, obviously, our Crank It hole. And so what we do is, a group comes up. Let's say it's the hole-in-one hole. We tell them a little bit about the Hero program. What we're raising money for specifically is that charity that day. So then obviously a portion goes to that charity, money they wouldn't normally have. We don't charge the charity $1. And then a percentage comes to the Hero program for those things that I spoke about. Same thing on the long drive hole. If you're following, same thing. We have the world record, 483 yards. We ask them for a donation per person if the entire group donates. Then they go up to 483 yards and they're jumping for an albatross. That actually speeds up play in a charity tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have an opportunity to demo the crank drivers on the Crank It hole. Usually we have about 5 drivers out there with different shafts, different lofts for the masses, the average guy that's going to hit it 250. Those crank heads will automatically add 15 to 25 yards for the guy that hits it around 250. I'm big time skeptic. With my background with the way components are with golf clubs, going against the big manufacturers, the ones that we know, Titleist, Callaway, TaylorMade, all that kind of stuff. Great clubs, great manufacturers. I'm literally mind blown today.
That's awesome.
Literally mind blown.
How did the relationship with Crank happen? Do they have a connection to the veterans?
They do. So Jay McNabney, who started the Hero program, is best friends with Lance Reeder. So Lance Reeder started Crank 21 years ago, stood on the 18th hole at the Legacy Golf Club here for 2 years straight selling crank drivers.
Wow.
And that's how it was kind of launched. And then the story obviously takes care of itself. They're the best known in the long drive world.
Sure.
Hands down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that started.
Absolutely. Well, it's so great that there's companies that are willing to partner with it because it sounds like it's a big part of the Hero program itself, right?
Right. And a lot of stuff that Crank does, Lance is a member at Seville. They do big events there for veterans, and they give to local foundations like the American Heroes Foundation that is ran by Tony Miller.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's super cool, and even just Crank being around here, I hear about them all the time. And I think I've even seen Crank come out. I don't know if it was for the Hero program or if it was they did something similar for other charity tournaments. But we've actually had Crank set up on a par 5 here. I think it was hole number 5. And they had driver's demo. So I've seen that set up, and it's super cool to see, you know, the way that they can mix and match the club to the person, like you said, to the masses, get a club in their hand, to see the way that everybody lights up like that, and then they get to go play from 480 out. Dude, it's
Right?
everybody's stoked on that one. And then, Jim, tell us a little bit about you, how you got involved with all this, and a little bit about your background.
Right. So, you know, as a veteran, I spent 5 years in the Navy from 2006 to 2011, stationed on the USS Enterprise. I know Brian through our veteran affiliation, and you know, he just reached out to me recently, and you know, wanted to talk to me more about the Hero Group and this great program. And I was fortunate enough last night to meet Jay, and actually, there's a lot of cool science behind the technology they're using in the Crank driver, which was explained to me, just not retained.
It takes a couple more explanations till it really starts to stick.
It'll take probably 10 more.
It's a head scratcher.
Maybe more, but yeah, that's why you're instantly, you know, seeing results with that driver. But yeah, he was just telling me about all the great things that this group does, and you know, I couldn't be more excited to be affiliated with them. And me personally, my business right now is in mental skills and performance coaching for golfers. So that's just running my coaching business right now. So hoping to you know, really add some value to the Hero Group.
Yeah. And what does that take, like, to get that started? You know, when I hear, you know, mental coaching and the performance for it too, how was that? And you know, how long have you been doing that?
Yeah, so I just started the business a year ago. So it's kind of in its infancy right now. But my playing background is in Southern California in San Diego. Let's see, I played on the mini tours, the Golden State Tour, for 2.5, 3 years. During that time, I was working at Goat Hill Park.
Yeah. No, I know Goat Hill. Yeah, I went to San Diego State, so yeah, it's right there. Yeah,
perfect. Okay,
I see you got the shirt on right now.
Yeah, the playground. So it's funny, here and Goat Hill have a lot of similarities just with the culture, and that's kind of what you know, drew me to this place in the first place. I was like, you know, the music, just the environment, the atmosphere, really cool, really accepting. You can come out here and, you know, play in a t-shirt and be fine. You know, no one's gonna, you know, people just accept you as you are. And I think that's so important in the game. But to get back to your original question, how do you get started in coaching? I personally, I gave lessons at Goat Hill. Just worked with the kids out there and just the community there. And that was when I was playing on the mini tour. So my playing career ended because I ran out of money. It's a really tough pursuit out there in Southern California. I'm sure Brian can attest to that. And then, you know, I stepped away from the game for a bit, got into insurance, did that for 4 years, and just transitioned back into coaching. So, you know, I just, you know, my love for coaching just brought me back into it. Love helping people out and just, you know, seeing not only them become better at the game, but, you know, developing those kind of core values to become, you know, a better human.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Who is your customer? Like, your ideal customer? Are you trying to work with, like, the elite players, juniors?
No, my ideal customer is junior golfers, you know, anywhere from, you know, 10 to 20. I think, you know, if you can instill these values and principles into them at an early age, it's just gonna plant that seed for, you know, later on in their life.
Those principles that you're referring to, do you think that you learned that through your experience in the military and in the Navy?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's just military is, Brian can also attest to this. It's very good for structure, for mindset, responsibility, discipline. It's just you're being whipped into it at first, but once you learn the value of these things, it's nothing really can be accomplished unless you work together as a team. And golf is often looked at as an individual sport, but you do have a team that you're operating within. And I'm sure you guys know this here, to run a facility like this with all your junior camps and golf course operations. It takes
an army.
It takes an army.
Yeah.
It does.
No, that's absolutely true, though. Nowadays it's not like the old days where I think that the top tour players would drink some beer at night, smoke some cigars, show up the first tee, and play competitively. Now you have a fitness trainer, a swing coach, a mental coach, an agent, various other things.
Can you imagine having all that?
I know. I was just.
It's true though. The tour guys have the entire team.
You got a whole entourage.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. It's going back to the Hero program too, because what you're doing for them is huge. And do you see, working within with the veterans and through the game of golf, do you see that golf itself, even recreational, has been beneficial to people that come back with PTSD and have been through a lot? Do you feel like it's a good outlet for them?
It's full therapy. It's we were talking kind of offline before about you're not saving lives. Well, in my opinion, I think golf does save lives. I think it's I call it my sanctuary. Like it's where I feel the most at peace. It's where my PTSD personally doesn't ever surface, ever. I'm a night PTSD guy. I don't sleep well. I have a lot of issues kind of throughout the night. But golf is therapeutic. And I know that with all the prior tournaments that I've ran, veteran organizations that I've helped run, everyone would attest to that golf is just like the therapy. And then the culture that we created in Southern California is when we got done with the golf tournament, I'm very proud of creating the environment for afterwards. Afterwards, everybody sit down, grab a hot dog, grab a beer, and then start sharing stories. Because a lot of times at home, for me personally, I don't like to talk about my military life. I don't. I got 3 teenagers. I don't think they're quite ready to hear some of those stories, in my opinion. So when I can sit down with my brothers like Jim and share a story about my time in the military and hear other stories, it's really therapeutic for us to kind of bounce those things off each other.
Yeah, we've done a couple other episodes in a different vein with some really, really good junior golfers in the state of Arizona, and something that I've keyed in on that they always bring up, and even hearing the way you commented, right? The military sort of, you said it whips the discipline into you, right? It really what it is, it's bringing you out of your comfort zone to understand, to learn to trust the people around you, to truly work as a team to get more done. And I think what's so unique about golf and probably why it's therapeutic in its own right is because as much as it is a team sport, you have support. You're also out there alone a lot, like in the actual act of playing golf. And so you're left to be uncomfortable in your thoughts after you hit one of those shots, or, you had a plan and you didn't execute it. And then you've got that long walk to your next shot where you have to face it. And so doing that for 4.5 hours through 18 holes, doing that day in and day out, it makes those other things in our life that are a little more uncomfortable, or, where you might be trepidatious talking to someone who maybe they've had experiences like you, but you don't know them. So do I really want to talk to them? Like, what, man, it's not as uncomfortable as, topping that ball in the water earlier,
right.
So
That's exactly true.
I think that's one of the coolest things to see across all the different backgrounds. You've got great junior golfers, you have people with the group homes that we've worked with, you have you guys, the veteran community that we've seen, and by and large, I think that discipline that golf instills is really the common factor that I've noticed, and I think that it's amazing. And I wish there was more sports and outlets that had it, but boy, am I thankful golf's got it.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's that emotional, just dealing with those emotions helps you in life in general, and like you said, confronting uncomfortable situations. It's yeah, that long walk in between shots will definitely carry over.
Well, even when it comes to managing golf courses now, and we go to various locations, and we have one in Las Vegas, which I think got hit with the pandemic worse, harder than anybody. I mean, as far as the effect it had on the city, and then even just everywhere, and just seeing the effect that golf did there was really great to see. And what we try to explain to the team is that we're there to create an escape from everyday life, because. And I'm not trying to compare what anybody's been through compared to what you guys have been through. I don't know it. I'm glad I never known it, but I empathize and totally compassion with you guys and what you've been through. But even just if we can create an escape here for the team, for the UPS driver by just giving them a high five and a Powerade because it's hot, or anything. Everybody just needs a little escape now.
It's true.
Because life's not getting any more sane or normal, anytime soon. It looks like, And it's really neat, though, that there's organizations like the Hero Program, two of you and a lot of other veterans, and what it can provide for you at many levels. And it sounds like you're down the road to starting a new tour.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, being part of multiple tours, they all do some things really well, and they all lack in certain areas. And so I've kind of taken feedback from guys from different tours, guys that have led other tours as well, on what could be better. Like if I were to start a new tour, what could make it a unique product for one, and what could make it better? So mostly it's always cost, right? It's always a cost factor. So I'm brainstorming, I'm thinking about that. And then it's always the brand. I wanted a national brand. If I was gonna do this with the connections that I have, like Jim here in Arizona, guys that I have relationships with in 8 other states, I need something national. So for the life of me, I don't know why United States Golf Tour wasn't purchased. It's mind-blowing to me, but we swooped it up really quickly. Cost us $12.
Dude, there you go.
So we're we're on to something. So I think it's a great national name. It's gonna be easy to catch. We can do obviously red, white, and blue, which is gonna be the focus heavily on military and first responders. The unique part that I think we have is obviously we're gonna go out to try to find the best golf courses, the best relationships, like here at Dobson Ranch, as you call it, Dobby. A great partnership with you. And then create an environment to where we bring somebody like the local police chief who doesn't know the combat veteran, who's never played with him, or somebody like yourself who hasn't met the police chief, and then pair you guys together because you guys wouldn't normally play together. So there's no other tour that does that, for one. You just kind of get stuck with whoever you get stuck with. Or if you know somebody, hey, I want to play with my buddy. I don't want to play with my buddy in tour. I want to meet you guys. Plus, I want some good competition, too, on that side. So the other unique part is, so if you go on to register, and let's say the tournament's $100, there's going to be a separate thing that says sponsor a hero. So whatever the greens fees are that day, or whatever it is, our cost, that person, that doctor, lawyer, business guy, politician, whoever it is, can sponsor the hero. So the ultimate goal for me personally is to get that military or first responder to play for free.
Absolutely.
That's the ultimate goal.
And you sure hope that could happen, right?
Yeah, I'm confident that once it kind of blossoms and we start doing it in the multiple states, and as long as I'm doing my job and the guys that I pick up like Jim locally can do their job with some really cool partnerships and golf courses, then I think we can accomplish that.
Absolutely. You're obviously very good, right? You've been sharing these scores. Drew, make note. Brian's on my team.
Yeah.
Jim's pretty good too, so maybe it'd be us three. You could pick two more. But, no, I'm kidding. But so how competitive do you want this to be? I mean, is it going to be flighted, or is it going to be...
It will be flighted.
Yeah.
That's another unique part. So most of the tours, if you get at, let's say there's an A, B, C, and D flight for simple purposes. Usually the A and B flight are going to be gross only, but there's going to be a separation. Let's say A flight is 0 to 4.9, and you go usually from 5.0 to 9.9. C and D are usually then net. This is where some tours kind of can go sideways because of sandbagging purposes. So another feedback from most people is because the average golfer is going to shoot somewhere around 90 to 100. That's just across the board. You know that. So you want to still make that C and D flight competitive. So I'm going to eliminate handicaps completely. I want to know what your handicap is so I can flight you properly.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have you play gross.
Yeah.
15 plays against a 15. Why have the handicap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
No,
not?
I agree.
That's golf, right? That's
Yeah.
raw golf.
Yeah.
And I'm all about raw golf because I never win a net skin.
And that makes total sense because, it's funny. Matt, who you guys have both met too, we were talking one night on the range when we were doing some other stuff. And he was explaining to these newer guys that had just picked up golf. They're on our range every week, and they were playing some holes on Top Tracer, and they kept getting bogeys. But he was telling them, like, hey, you guys understand that, like, bogey golf, and I don't know how legitimate it was, but it sounded sensible. He's like, bogey golf is actually like your average, like an amateur's par.
That's correct. Totally
like
correct.
It totally is. So, if it's par 72 and you go out and shoot a 90, it only makes sense that, hey, just play gross. I love the idea of using the handicaps mostly as a placement tool, and then let them play heads up, because you're right. The other thing I always never understood as a less than avid golfer was, like, I could go out one time and shoot an 85 and I'm a handicapped shot, right? So if I have that round of my life and then I go back to shooting 80s and 90s, it's going to be forever till I'm actually playing against who I should be. Whereas this, at least, okay, like, you have a way to kind of counterbalance that. Like, hey, he shot an 85 straight up, good for him. And then you're going to see very quickly, and he goes back to shooting 90, 95, you can make those adjustments much more quickly, it seems like.
Yeah, no, you absolutely hit the nail on the head, and it's literally to combat against the sandbagging, because that's what derails other tours. That's where tours will get up to 100 plus guys at a tournament, not a charity tournament, but a regular tournament for 18 holes, and then you've got the same guy winning all the time in a flight because the handicap hasn't been shifted or he hasn't been moved in the proper flight.
Yeah. And ultimately, winning with a handicap anyway gets a little bit cheesy anyway. The more you get into a tour, where if you're put in the right flight and you go grind it out, it's a match.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But if you beat me by 2 and we grind it all day, but I get 3 strokes, I win. It's kind of weak, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I could go off on a separate tangent.
It's cool though, because and we shared a little bit about it offline yesterday too. But with some of the fun projects we've got going on with, like, the Top Tracer leagues that we're doing on our range and stuff, that was actually one of the thought processes we had. We looked at, like, the UFC, and they've got weight classes, right? And that's sort of the determinant of who you fight. And we when we heard you talk about the handicaps, I was like, dude, we could use the handicaps to weight people against each other and then have them play straight up, and that's the belt you're playing for. You're playing for the B flight belt. And as someone progresses and does really well, they can keep that belt for as long as they're there, but then they get to go into the A if they do improve as a player, right? Or it gives them a little bit more freedom over time.
That should be the ultimate goal too. Like, let's say I start off on this tour and I'm a D flighter. I would want to move into C.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's generally the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
However, Jim understands that when there's money involved, because this is still amateur golf, but now we can play for now up to $1,000.
Yeah.
So there's some decent money out there to be won. People are going to figure out a way to try to stay in their flight so they can win. And I'm going to try my best with the guys that I bring on in other states to try to keep that to a minimum, because that will send you sideways real quick.
Well, if it's a tour, right? If they're in the C flight and they shoot 75, maybe that moves them automatically into the A flight.
Correct.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
And we will have that.
Yeah, their tournament scores maybe have a priority over anything else.
You get an automatic bump.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to the good golf.
You've got your mid-season bump up.
Yeah. Because, like the Smashers On, the slogan is golf made fair and fun for everyone.
Love it.
And it really isn't meant to be just like everybody gets a participation trophy in that regard, right? But it's also because golf in itself, that's why I think it's awesome that tours like yours are going to start and they're going to continue to grow, is that this is not the fault of the PGA Tour, the PGA of America, the USGA. They facilitate prodigies. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. And even you're a great player, and you said you missed it by a stroke to the U.S. Amateur, right? The U.S. Amateur was originally created for a guy like yourself, right? But now it's all 14 to 18-year-olds. And in the U.S. Amateur, not the U.S. Junior.
I know.
And,
they're my kids' age.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if you don't have platforms and ways to compete and win, they say they're not competitive. But if you give people a chance to win by a format, a flight, or a tour, people are savages. You know what I mean? People say they're not competitive. It's funny because Andrew is my son-in-law, and his wife, my daughter, when we were having a discussion once, she said, well, I'm not competitive. I said, that's because you don't play golf. I said, when we go on trips or we get together and we play spoons or cards games, she's a savage because she can win, right? If you can win, you're a savage.
Field, right? Yeah.
Dude, it's happening within our family right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Well, we're filming this at the end of October, and in December, so my brother-in-law went, and he's been running lately, and he trained for a couple months and went and just crushed a half marathon. So we all went up, watched, and supported him, and it lit this weird competitive spirit in everybody, because a debate that comes up a lot is who's the biggest athlete in the family, and nobody plays sports but me. Joe played sports when he was younger, and my wife played volleyball. So it's pretty clear between the 3 out of like the 8 who even has an argument in that fight.
Yeah.
But they went ahead and, Amy was like, I ran a 5K once, and Joe just wants to crush everyone. So now they've signed everyone in our family up, me, my wife, brother, his girlfriend, their 2 other kids, those 2. And so now we're running a 5K, and whoever wins gets what they want. And I was like, dude, you guys poked the bear.
I know.
He's really upset.
I told Bailey, his wife, my daughter, I said, your job is to feed him Oreos and some really fatty food so he gets out of shape.
Sluggish and slow.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody could beat Drew.
Yeah, I was like, I'm the
if
only
he's
one that
prepared.
still does any organized sport. It's it's paintball, right?
Yeah.
And I play softball and softball, but like everyone else just works. No one
Yeah.
still does any sports. So
I'm trying to find an edge, and if not, I'm gonna fake an injury. Just full.
yeah. Well, I
No
mean,
excuses.
if you know Joe, and if you ever been around Paradigm when we've competed as a whole, he's got a lot of good rules on his side, and one of them, him and his family, is they're not losers, they're quitters.
Exactly.
And so when he knows, and he's the one putting up the prize money, so what's he
Yeah.
gonna do? Buy something for himself?
Yeah.
He doesn't care if he wins.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
It's but no, that it just goes back to like the competitive spirit, right? Because we all think we can win in our own pea brain until Drew took it serious, but we all thought we could, and that's what makes it people competitive. You have to have the ability or the thought process to think you can win. But if you just had one division and you were a 20 handicap, you'd never play and you'd say I'm not competitive because you're not going to win no matter what you do.
No, it's true. And to go even further on the competitiveness and the structure of the way we're going to do this. So the gentleman who reached out to me, Matt Johnson, he ran the Golf Channel Am Tour for, I don't know, like 10 years or something like that. And his actual tour that he ran in Ohio was like ranked the #1 amateur experience. So we had a mutual friend. He reached out to me, hey, I want to expand type of thing. So within the flights, here's where it gets real fun and fun for me to create this big experience. You can go to whatever state, you can accumulate points, but it stays in your local tour. So you're not getting points towards that city, right? Because we're going to be in 7-8 states pretty quickly. But then you're competing for a regional tournament that's going to be at like the best place we can possibly partner up with in the region. 4, maybe 5 regions we do it, and then we have a national championship to where the goal is with me, with Matt, and some folks that are coming in on the investment side. I want, if you make it to the national championship, get yourself there, buy a plane ticket. When you step foot on that grounds, I don't want you to pay $1 more. Yeah. Especially specifically for the vets and the first responders. Yeah. That's my ultimate goal, and that has been it hasn't been met by other organizations.
Yeah. Well, no, and it goes back to this leads me to a question too, is that how can golf courses help? And not just with the tour, with the Hero program, because there's a lot of great foundations and there's a lot of great causes, but I think the one that strikes the chord of anybody, and if it doesn't, it's disturbing, is what a veteran and what somebody in our military, the males and females out there that give their life for our freedom. So if you're a golf course operator, how can they help?
We want that partnership. We want a relationship. And I think once the relationship is met, folks like yourself can then, I hate calling things discounts for whatever reason. I think it's, we're going to take care of our vets and first responders, something like that. Because it's always going to kind of boil down to the cost factor, right? Because there's, Jim and I are fortunate enough to live a decent life, but I have very close veteran friends that came back. They were not the same person. They love golf, but they literally can't afford to play golf. And so that's part of what I do on the local end in Southern California too, is to really do everything I can to get sponsors, business guys that own stuff, the affluent people in those communities, to then sponsor those. I get foursomes sponsored, whether it's all 4 vets or all 4, firemen, that maybe got medically retired. They're not currently an active fireman because they got hurt. stuff
Right.
like that. That's
Absolutely.
always the ultimate goal, is to do everything I can to give back to those guys.
Yeah.
That's what they can do.
No,
Give back.
No, absolutely. And it's simple enough. And I don't think there's an excuse
It's not rocket
not
science,
to.
right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, Dobson happens to be one of the busiest golf courses in America, and we find room. And we could do more too. So I'm not here to tell you that we're, you know, doing everything we should either. But
And the
every golf
atmosphere?
course has room, though. I mean, inventory available to allow people to come out and
It's good to
veterans
hear
enjoy
that.
it.
It's
Everybody
very good
does.
to hear that from you.
Yeah.
Very good to
Because,
hear
you
that.
know, we did 93,000 rounds of golf. I'll guarantee you there's not many more in the country golf
a
courses
lot.
that did that. And we find room. And you always can.
What is that an average of? Over 200
It's like
a day?
275 to 280 a day.
A day.
And that's across 365 days, and we're closed for a few weeks for overseeding. It doesn't account for the sun up and down times changing. That's, you know, it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being here for the first time ever yesterday, when I told you this, when I walked in to your pro shop, for one, it's a beautiful pro shop. It's got awesome gear. And it's like club music on. I walked into Akon on the radio, and I'm like, I walk in and I'm starting to like dance. And your three guys behind the counter were all smiling. They looked happy. They looked like they were enjoying themselves. I talked to them, and it was refreshing. So I appreciate that from you guys for creating that environment and that atmosphere, because, like we said yesterday, golf it used to be stuffy.
Yeah.
And it's guys like you here at Dobson Ranch that is creating that unstuffiness.
Yeah, well, and we appreciate that too. And Drew's
I love
done a great job with the team, and the whole team is that it really starts with compassion and understanding that everybody needs a break, an escape, a smile. And that's what we're here to do. And everything else works itself out. I mean, in the golf business, like when I said about inventory available or opportunity to take care of people, if they want to, they can. And we could do more too, and we plan on doing it. But you guys are amazing, and I wanted to say thank you for coming on the show and actually just sharing your story. And we'd like to do some follow-up with the tour, and we look forward to working with you and hosting some stuff for you too. And the question we ask everybody, though, before they go is dream foursome. So it's you and three others. Who would it be?
They could be dead or alive.
Dead or alive?
I'll let you start, Jim.
Okay,
Buying himself some time.
I was a huge Ben Hogan fan, so I would have to say Ben Hogan. My dad passed away in 2013, so I would love to play with my dad. He was horrible at golf, but
It would be good to have Ben Hogan in the group. He could give him the 5 lessons,
There you go.
right?
They would,
Fundamentals.
they would balance it out. And who would?
Would you play golf with the actual singer, Jim Morrison?
Yeah.
I had to throw that in
Yeah,
there. I had to ask.
You might be related.
fair.
You could chase,
How cool would
chase
that
it
be,
back,
though,
you know?
right?
That might be an interesting experience, man. And from a mental game coach, I might learn a thing or two from old Jim.
What about Bob Rotella?
Oh, Bob Rotella. Yeah, I also
He went mental.
Yeah, I went mental.
You went mental.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, did he? Is there a story?
Oh no, Bob Rotella.
Oh,
He's the
yes.
mental coach. Yeah.
Mental guru.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my fourth. We'll go ahead and say Jim Morrison, just because I shared
I
his
love it.
video.
I love the sound of it.
Yeah. Brian, what about you?
Mine's real simple. My father, of course, he got me started in the game of golf. I only got 12 years with him. Paul Russell, which was his best friend at the time, helped him coach Little League. Had a son my age, and we grew up together, and I text him probably over 100 times, 7 days a week. He's the one who taught me probably 80% of what I know in the game of golf.
Wow.
I owe a ton to the guy. He's literally like my second father. And then Tiger Woods. How could you not want to play with Tiger Woods?
Yeah, it's funny because every show it had to come up with Tiger. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Do you
I
have
just-
Tiger from a specific era? That's always the rubber match.
No, I want to play him now because I might have a chance.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Absolutely.
That's a good one.
No, I realistically, and I don't want this to come off as like an arrogant statement, but Paul Russell, who kind of like gave me the nuts and bolts up here in a lot of my swing. I think even at Tiger's greatest, if I shot what I could shoot now when my putter's on fire, I'd give him a match. I'm not playing him at Isleworth Country Club, where he destroys that place. Have him come to my local muni.
Yeah.
Then we'll see what's up.
Yeah.
But no, I in my opinion, obviously Jack and Tiger, the two greatest it's tough to debate, but what Tiger was able to do with a golf ball, I don't think we will ever see again.
I agree with that.
Well, sweet. Thank you guys so much for coming
Appreciate
out.
you guys.
Yes.
For everybody watching at home, lastly, too, do you guys have any other way people watching can find more info, give you guys suggestions on what courses near them might be good to partner with, donate, any of those plugs you guys got for us?
Well, yeah, I'll just start with my website. It's at mojohorizonperformance.com, and I'm on Instagram at performbettergolf and Facebook at performbettergolf.
You can go to elitefundraisingsolutions.com, theheroprogram.com. My foundation is findingfairways.org. And then we're going to have unitedstatesgolftour.com. It's up, it's ready, but it's not finalized yet. So if you go on there right now, it's a little scattered, but give us a few more weeks and you'll be able to hopefully sign up and be ready to rock and roll.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
Well, we really do appreciate you guys taking the time out. Thank you guys for everybody who tuned in, listened. Make sure to drop us a like, subscribe, share this with some friends and family if you guys do. And if you guys have suggestions on other groups, organizations, or individuals that we should sit down and hear from, please don't hesitate to let us know. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, hope we made you smile.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, you cannot stop it.
I had to switch up the flow, show you the way that it go. God is good, but his life is hard.